Hope you are hearing me loud and clear. Let me take the list of questions. Good afternoon, Sandeep. Hi, Vikas. How are you doing, folks? Just give me an S if you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, wonderful, Sandeep. Hi, Madhu. Good afternoon to you. Wonderful, Vikas. So it's basically three of us today, surprising. The others have not joined until now, so hopefully they should be joining us very soon. So just wanted to check with you, Madhu, were you able to do the pig exercise, what we have shared? And I think all of you would have got the materials, what I sent it to you also, right? Whatever I showed, we have dispatched all the materials. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. We could see Gaurav also joining us right now. Wonderful. So what about you, Sandeep and Vikas? Got time to catch up with the pig exercise? Did a little bit of reading on Hive? No, that's fine. The Hive exercise is something that we will have to, I'll be covering up that topic today and then you can do that. That's perfectly fine. Hive, we are still going to do it, so that's perfectly fine. In fact, is done. Okay, that's perfectly fine, Vikas. Pig exercise is done, Hive yet to be done. We are also working on some projects that you could be done by your team also, because you are almost nearing the finishing line. 6th week is this. So we are also working on some projects that you could do, so that it would be wonderful. Sandeep, I demoed a couple of exercises, Sandeep. I was also asking, as a part of the subjects that came down to your emails, there was an exercise on pig that was supposed to be done. I was asking about that, Sandeep. Abhishek has joined us. I could see that. Thank you. Gaurav and Abhishek, can you hear me loud and clear? Good afternoon to you, Gaurav. Hi, Abhishek. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, I think we should get started. I have a small okay, because you got thoughts on parallelism in pig. In fact, yeah, you had sent me an email. I never got time to work on that, my dear friend, because this whole week I was totally into HD Insights. I do have that code, yes. Thanks for reminding me that. You did send me an email on the combiner and the partitioner. In fact, support should have sent it to you because they already have it, but then let me follow it up on that. This last week was crazy because didn't work anything on Linux, was totally involved on HD Insights, that is Microsoft product. So I can give a good demo of that, because next week is next 2 weeks I'm in Hyderabad, so leaving by the 8 o'clock flight today. Now, something I wanted to share with you guys. Today, after I finished my last session around 2:10, got a call from my friend mentioning that from his house, that his family of his wife has passed away. So since I'm going to Hyderabad by the 8 o'clock flight, we will have a 1-hour course today, and the balance I'll be covering it by giving you a break and taking up an extended session next Sunday, guys. So please bear with me. I didn't want to cancel it completely because I wanted to continue with Hive and give you something so that you can start working on that. So wanted to go down to his house before I leave for Hyderabad, because I'm scheduled to leave for Hyderabad today night by the 8 o'clock Indigo flight from Mumbai to Hyderabad. So we will have it till about 3:30. After that, I need to rush to his house, then come back, take a bath, and then take my flight to the Hyderabad. So that's the reason, folks. So if you can bear with me. So today we will do it only for 1 hour, and the balance 2.5 hours, 1.5 hours or 2 hours, we would easily cover it up in the next session. If everybody supports that, that will be wonderful, guys. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Madhu. So next session we will have a half an hour gap in between. So let's plan for that so that you would know that yes, we need to have a lengthier session tomorrow. Thank you so much, Vikas. Hi, Ratnakar. Hi, Peter. Ratnakar and Peter, did you hear what I had just mentioned right now? I had made some announcements. So did you hear that, Ratnakar? Okay, you had just joined. No worries. I'll just wait for others also to join in. In fact, I'm planning to keep up one last session as a project session with you folks after the week 8. So this is going to be the week 6 for you, week 7, week 8. After that, I would give you the project time. I'll give you about 2 to 3 weeks to finish it off. We will talk via email in between that, and then we would want to discuss, and I would want you to show the projects what you have done. That's my plan, Vikas. Because other than that, I think we are under control. Today, if I finish off with Hive, then we have got HBase, we have got Zookeeper and Scoop. Scoop and Zookeeper are small topics, doesn't really warrant 3 hours. So that's how I have planned it that way. But we'll go ahead and see how is it. Fair enough, Vikas? You're welcome, friend. So Gaurav, I hope next week, this is for Ratnakar and for Vivek, who has just joined in right now. So like I had mentioned, and I don't know about Sandeep. Yeah, Sandeep has heard what I said. Yeah, he was there earlier itself, so he would have heard that. So Ratnakar and Vivek, unfortunately, got a call from my friends, very close friends, family, that my friend's wife has passed away, and I needed to go down to their house because I'm flying off to Hyderabad today night. 8 o'clock is my flight. My original plan was to finish it off till 5:30, leave house at 6 o'clock so that by 8 o'clock I'll be comfortably on time. But because of this, I needed to close a little bit earlier because I need to go down to his house, come back, take a bath, and then go because next week I'm there in Hyderabad for Microsoft. So that 2 hours what is pending today would be conducted as an addition session next week so that we can finish it off next week. Next week would typically be a 5-hour session. We'll have a gap in between. Don't worry about that, guys. Or else if you want to spread it equally, 1 hour extra next week and 1 hour the week after that, I'm fine with that also. So the next to next week would be the last 2 sessions. Next week, before next week, there will be a project that you will have to do. So you'll have to start working on the project. And after the 8th session, after that, another 2 weeks after that, we will have a final get together to see what all projects everybody has done. So that's what is the plan right now. We could consider that on Saturday also. Saturday we will have to make it up at 6 o'clock. So put in a suggestion. So if everybody is fine, that will be okay. Or 1 hour both week will also be fine. I could do it at 6 o'clock on Saturday also if it is fine with you. 6 o'clock, 2 hours on Saturday, and 1 hour, and then the normal 3 hours on Sunday. I'm fine with that. Okay, Sunday is not possible because you have to be in office, Sandeep. Okay, fine. So I think because what we could do is we could split it into 1 hour. We will have a bigger break of about 20 minutes or 30 minutes in between 2 sessions, and we'll have a longer session of 4 hours. Instead of 3 hours, we'll have it as 4 hours for the last 2 sessions. I'm sorry about this, guys, but then this is beyond my control. I didn't want to cancel today's session, so that's the reason I thought that I'll take up 1 hour, give you some exercises on Hive so that your mind will be busy, you will be working on that, and we could continue next week. Thank you so much, Vikas. Vivek, thank you for the understanding. Appreciate that. Yes, Ratnakar, so I think that's what we will be doing. Abhishek is saying 4 hour on both Sundays. Yes, because Saturdays, unfortunately, Sandeep cannot come down because he's got his office. So let's keep it up for 4 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday. Thank you, everybody. Madhu has replied back. Gaurav says he's fine. Vikas, Ratnakar is also there. Good, good. Lovely. So let's start with today's session, folks, without any further delay. Thank you so much, guys. Let me go back to my presentation. This is the same presentation. Here I have already opened it that we had done last time. So I know we had done till complex types. I just want to quickly go through the slideshow. So can somebody tell me when should I use Pig and when should I use Hive, guys? What are the use cases where Pig would be useful and what are the use cases where Hive would be useful, friends? Good, Sandeep has given an answer. Okay, same thing, Vikas. Good, good. So Vikas and Sandeep and Gaurav has said Pig is for unstructured, whereas Hive is for structured data. More on the SQL type. Thank you, all three of you. That's wonderful. That's the right answer, folks. So let's talk quickly more about Hive. Let me go ahead. So this is what we have seen. It was started basically by Facebook, whereas Pig was by Yahoo. So it is basically a data warehousing package built on top of Hadoop. We have seen this. It is targeted for users specifically with comfortability to SQL and is called as HiveQL. The biggest advantage is you don't have to learn Java, developed by Facebook and given to the community. And folks, both Pig and Hive both are available on HD Insights. This last week I was totally immersed into the installation issues and things with the Microsoft HD Insight. Next week I can show you an actual demo on that also. So the problem is that they don't have an offline installer. You have to download about 1 GB of stuff. It's good that since I've got a fiber about 4 to 6 Gbps I mean, it took me about 1.5 hours to download it. Plus there's a lot of other things to download also. But both Pig and Hive are there on your Hadoop on Windows also. Okay, so we have seen this. Facebook has analyzed a lot of data using Hive. So what is Hive? It's a SQL-like query language. Allows programmers to have their custom mappers and reducers. It's a kind of a data warehouse infrastructure. Let me move on. Okay, so this is about the Hive infrastructure wherein you will have a HWI, Hive web interface. You will have a command line interface, CLI. You have a thrift server. We saw that the Metastore is typically a Derby-based Metastore. You have got, at the end of the day, by default, it will convert it into your MapReduce queries. We have seen that. Let's get down to the next slide. So what are the different components in the architecture? It's got a shell prompt, Metastore, execution engine, compiler, and driver. We have discussed this also last time. What does the shell component allow me to do? It allows you to write SQL queries. Driver is something which takes care of sessions, execution engine, and it has got a Metastore for it. This is again something that we have seen last time in the Hive JVM. It could be in an embedded format, it could be in a local, or it could be there in a remote Metastore format. The reason I'm going through this is because we have seen all of these things last time, friends. So that's the reason. Again, talking about the different types that we have. Okay, similar to the Java type, but then yes, it has got its own tiny int and small int, big int. We have got long. Because Pankaj had come in, but Pankaj was saying he was trying to log in from Ubuntu, but seems webinar does not support an Ubuntu. In fact, I'm not aware of that, Pankaj. Sorry about that. I've used Ubuntu typically as a VM and not as a full-fledged operating system. The Metastore will have the details about the tabular structure, because when we talk about Hive, at the end of the day, it is going to be like your database, right? So you will actually, when you type Hive, you will have to have it in the form of a database. So those structures, whatever the transactional records, would all be there in the warehouse location. There is a warehouse Hive location which will have those information. Okay, so that will be there in the Metastore. Fine, Vikas? The tabular information would be there. The metadata is what would be there in the Metastore. Not really. The warehouse would have the actual information because the Metastore would have the schema, the structure of it. Schema is the right word. The structure of it would be there. Wonderful, Vikas. Thank you. So who has come in new? I saw that Pankaj had come in. My mind is not working. We saw Pankaj coming in. Who else is? Kaushik has come in. Pankaj and Kaushik, both of you are new. I know for the others it's a repetition, guys. Pankaj and Kaushik, I had announced that unfortunately there has been a death in my friend's family. My friend's wife has passed away, and I'm moving off to Hyderabad today night by the 8 o'clock flight. So we will be having only a 1 hour session today, and the balance 1 hour will be spread over as additional 1 hours on next Sunday and the Sunday after that, because today is the 6th session, the 7th and the 8th session. There will be a project that will be shared with you that you need to work. So after the 8th session, after 2 weeks after that, we will have our final session for submission of the project and the other discussion that we have. So we will have our class only till 3:30 today, gentlemen, and the 1 hour we'll do it later on. My apologies, but beyond my hand, and unfortunately it would have been okay if I had gone at 5:30 also, but then he stays in Villaparle and I need to travel from Borivali to Villaparle and then come back and then again go back to the airport. So that's the reason. Thank you so much, Pankaj. Thank you, Kaushik. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, coming back to this, thanks Pankaj again. So this was the various data types. So I think Vikas is clear on the Metastore and other things. Hey Ratnakar, you are also in Borivali? You're in Bombay, right? So I stay in Borivali. That's funny. Okay. I stay at Borivali West, close to LT Road, close to Don Bosco. So very funny, we have never met each other before this. Wonderful. Okay, you stay in Thakur village on the east. Okay, got it. Sorry other guys, so typical Borivaliites are talking to each other. Sorry about that. Let's move on. So this was the last slide that we had seen last time, how the primitive types and the different other types like string and boolean are there. Cool. So let's move on for today's session. And I think this was actually the last slide. So other than the primitive types, we also have got complex types, okay, which is made up of this primitive types, and the complex types can be struts, it could be map, or it could be an array. Okay, map is basically a key value tuple, and an array is basically a indexable list, guys. So we'll see it in the form of an actual example also. So far, so good. Now, any questions on what we have seen till now? So what have we seen is we have seen HDFS, we have seen MapReduce, we have seen Pig, and we started with our Hive. So any questions till now? If none, we could move on with our session, and I can show you some actual demos also. I hope all of you have got the actual slides that the data material that I was using. A quick S would be wonderful. Vikas was asking, yeah, all of you got your materials. Wonderful, Ratnakar. Thanks Sandeep, can we connect to Hive via JDBC? In fact, what you would need to do would be, if you want to connect via JDBC, you have to use Scoop. Okay, so Pig was the only component which would be outside the cluster. Via JDBC, it's Scoop, which is used for getting the data into HDFS, and then you can perform your analysis. You can't use Hive to connect to it directly, friend. You will have to load the data from the HDFS into a table in your Hive. That's why it's called as a kind of a data warehouse, friend, and then you can perform your analysis. Make sense, Vikas? In fact, Sandeep was asking any open source GUIs. We have I mean, Microsoft has created a very good fancy UI for Hive, but then other than that, there is something called as Hive Web User Interface, which is very naive. Other than that, I don't recollect, and I have not played much with any UI on Hive, Sandeep. Okay. And Madhu was asking me earlier, is it impossible to use Pig for structured data? Not at all. Pig is basically for unstructured plus structured data also. Okay, and Pig is going to be outside the cluster. You don't have to be sitting on the cluster, whereas Hive has to be on the cluster. And Hive, you will have to load the data from the HDFS, that file, into a table into Hive. Okay, and then you can do analysis, and it will create MapReduce, and you'll see something called as partition. You will see something called as buckets and all of those things. Okay, so that's what we will be doing today, Madhu. A thrift server is, Madhu was saying, is that because in that case, why do we need Hive? Is it because it's more like SQL? Exactly, Madhu. So the original reason when we came about with Hive was that the people at Facebook who wanted to do this, they did not have a lot of programmers on Java. So that's the reason why when you saw the big data and Hadoop and these ecosystems coming up, they wanted to develop something which is more of SQL-ish, okay, rather than anything else. So that's why the whole concept of Hive was created. That is the background story for you, Madhu. Wonderful. There were a couple of questions from Vikas. Let me get on to the first one. The Apache Thrift is a server. This is an Apache language. So Apache Thrift server is something by which you could use a customized Thrift language. Thrift is going to be a language. Okay, so in the architecture, you could use that to work with it directly also. So since Hive uses more of this SQL-ish kind of SQL, that is HiveQL, I haven't had a chance to actually work with that Apache Thrift language. But then I can dig deep into it, and like you did last week, just put in across so that we have it on record that you have asked this question also, and that will also give me an opportunity to read this and then play around with that. So I will reply back on that, Vikas. You also had asked me one more question. Pig will play with data in the form of files, and Hive will play with data in the form of tables. Very much. Very much. So even though it is files, but still it is in a kind of a structured way, right? So if you want to load something, you need to have schema, right? So that's why you would need to have a table for storing the records. Whereas if you look at Pig, what did we see? We loaded it and we gave a kind of a semi-structure to it. We just created the TXN ID, the date, and all of those things, right? For loading the same transaction records. I will show, in fact, when we're doing Hive, I'll play around with the same transaction database, and we have already played with transaction last week with Pig. I'll show you how to do that with Hive this week also. Wonderful. And Pankaj was saying, how can we test Pig from client side without going to the Hadoop cloud? In fact, Pankaj, I told you last time, I don't recollect if I had actually tried that. I wanted to do that. From one VM, you could communicate what does Pig has. You need to go down to the pig.properties file, and you need to give it the name of your fs.default.name and mapred.job.tracker, right? Wherein you give localhost. So instead of that, you can have Pig running in Cloudera, okay? Install Pig in Cloudera, change the properties file, and then from there you can run the code. When you run something, it will actually fire that as an MR code in your HDFS in Ubuntu if you have got two VMs. So that's the whole idea, Pankaj. So Pig it need not be there on the cluster. So that's why you have seen that in Pig there is a pig.properties file where you have to put in two configuration values, right? So that's the reason. That tells it which is the machine where the cluster is sitting and where the data is sitting. The pig.properties file needs to be tweaked properly, Pankaj. Make sense, Pankaj? Thank you so much. Okay. So that's wonderful. So that was about what we have done last time with pig. So what you should do is that you should do some MapReduce program. The output of this, you can put it into a pig or you can put it into a hive, and then you can do the analysis. Okay. So that's what JP Morgan is doing right now. Like I give you an example of the 10 million record in Sybase. Okay. So let's move on from that. We have seen the complex data types. Now let's look at what is the ability of the Hive query language. Like I said, it is almost everything what QL does for you. So first ability on the top section is ability to filter rows from a table using a where clause. Ability to do a equi-join between two tables. Ability to store the results of a query in a Hadoop DFS directory. Ability to manage tables and partitions, that is create, drop, and alter. So partition is something that is very important. As you'll see in the next couple of slides, if you have got a data, let's say a log, and you would want to break the log into, let's say, different regions, APJ, EMEA, and North America, and then you would want to again partition it based on Jan, Feb, March, or based on some type of exception, you could do all of those things. And if you query from partitions again, you don't have, it won't fire the MR again, because partition is already in the form of a separate file in the DFS. So it won't have to fire the MR again. Okay, so that's advantage. Then on the left hand side, ability to store the results of a query into another table. So just wanted to show you what all are the functionalities that we have for our Hive QL language. Good. So just wanted to check if anybody else have come back. Kaushik is already there, we know that. Srilal, you have come in. I don't know whether you have heard the last part of it, but then had connection issues, you had joined right now, so no problem on that, Srilal. We have started with the very basic discussion on the earlier codes, and I think this is the last time I have to say this. Almost all of you are there now. Today we will be having it only till 3:30, Srilal, because of an unfortunate death of my friend's wife. I needed to go and meet him before I fly to Hyderabad at 8 o'clock. So we'll have it only for one session. The additional 1 hour will be split across next Saturday, next 2 Sundays. We will have 1 hour more, of course, with a break in between, friends. Okay, so just wanted to let you know about that, and hope 4 hours on the next 2 Sundays would be fine with you, Srilal. I hope that's fine with you. Sure. Thank you so much, friend. Good. So let's continue. Abilities of the Hive QL is what we are seeing. Now, once you have Hive, how do I configure Hive? Okay. Typically, Hive stores and manages data for the users. So whatever is your path, Ubuntu is the path or Cloudera is the path, there would be a Hive, and warehouse, it would be the folder where it would be created. So Hive would automatically store and manage data for the users. If you're doing it on a plain Ubuntu, you have to configure the path by setting in the hive_install, and then you would need to export the path also. And like I said earlier, for the Metastore option, Hive comes with Derby, which is a lightweight embedded SQL server. Of course, it can be configured with any other database also, like MySQL. So these are the things that you will have to remember when we are talking about Hive. Now let's talk about partitions, and another way of sub-partitioning is what is called as bucketing in Hive terminology. So what is partition? Same thing like Oracle or DBAs do partitioning. Partitioning means dividing a table into a coarse-grained part based on the value of a column such as a date, so that you would only have to do queries on the different slices of data. So like I said, you have got a weblog. You will partition the weblog based on the region from where that log is coming. Okay. Then You could even do something called as buckets. So buckets give extra structure to the data that can be used for more efficient queries. So a join of two tables can be bucketed on the same columns, including the join column, and this can be implemented as a map side join. So remember, when we spoke about joins, there are two types of join, map side join and reduce side join. So if you want to implement map side join, you can join two tables that is bucketed on the same columns, including the join column. Okay. The other aspect of join is, by bucketing by user ID means that we can quickly evaluate a user-based query by running it on a randomized sample of the total set of users. So how many buckets you have to create is also dependent upon you. Supposing if the records are going to be, let's say, hypothetically 100 records, okay, and then you create a bucket of 10 records, then whatever is the result, it will put it into each of those 100 records in a round robin, in the 10 buckets in a round robin fashion. So how many records are there? 100 records. You have got 10 buckets. So you would move the data into different buckets, 10, 10 in a round robin fashion. So at the end of the day, you will have each bucket containing 10 records, friends. Okay, so that's what is at a very high level the meaning of partitioning and bucketing. Of course, you need to do an exercise which will cover these things. Now, there is something called a schema on write, and there is something called a schema on read. Yes, you need to create a schema, but when is the schema applied? So Hive does not verify the data when it is loaded, so rather it is done when a query is issued. So when you actually load something into it, okay, it is not going to verify the data, it will simply load it. But when you are doing some analysis on it, like you're describing that particular table, or when you are counting the number of records and all that, that's the time when the schema is read. So schema on read makes for a very fast initial load, because the data does not have to read, parse and serialize to the disk in the database's internal format. The load operation is just a file, copy or move. So what happens on schema on write? In schema on write, first the whole schema is available, and then you would have then the data is written. So when the data is written, it will check whether the data is correct as per the schema or not. That's why when you do an insert, okay, if you pass in some wrong fields, then you would get an error at the time of inserting, whereas in Hive it's schema on read. So it will check up those things only when it is reading it. That's the difference between schema on write and schema on read. And because I was asking difference between partitioning and bucketing, partitioning is breaking up the whole table based on some columns, not based on some, let's say when you partition it, let's say you have got a column which has got 3 unique values. So when you partition it, you will get 3 separate tables having all those things based on the unique values, let's say North America, EMEA and APJ. But when I'm saying bucketing, bucketing means whatever is the answer that is coming down, you are putting into different buckets of data. Okay, I could have done the same thing what I did of putting it into North America, EMEA and APJ. I could have done bucketing also, but what bucketing would do is that I need to know how many rows, how many unique values are there in that particular column. Okay, and then it will put it into a bucket. Whereas in partitioning, it will automatically take care of the uniqueness and it will partition it. So you should be aware of the data if you want to do bucketing, whereas partitioning you don't have to be aware. It will partition it based on the number of unique values in that particular column. So at a very high level, that's the difference, Vikas. And when you see an example, things would all fall into place automatically, because there's nothing better than actually see a hands-on work happening, friend. Okay. So that's schema on read. Okay, let's continue. So when we talk about the various data models what we have, of course you will have, let me show all the different things. So first, when we talk about databases, okay, similar to that is what is namespaces. Okay, databases typically would mean namespaces. You will have tables. That's a data model for Hive. That is nothing but schemas in the namespaces. You will have partitions, how the data is stored in HDFS, grouping databases on some columns, can have more than, you can partition based on more than one column also. Okay, and typically bucketing means your partitions is further based into buckets is based on some other column, and the ideal use of bucketing is for data sampling. Okay, you would typically put something into a bucket for the advantage of data sampling. So like last time, I have got a Word document which covers up the complete exercise of how to do Hive. Okay, so I'm going to tell Edureka to share that with you also. So let me quickly show that to you. We saw Hive last time. I think the Hive document was shared with you. Same way, the PIC document was shared with you. The same way I will have the Hive document also shared with you, which will show you how to create a retail database. And see, I'm using the same transaction records. Okay, how to load the data into the table, how to describe the metadata or schema of the table. See the way I'm writing the SQL queries. Then I am creating a partition table. I'm creating a partition. Okay, then I'm loading data into that particular partition. Pankaj, it was available as a download. In fact, there would have been an email that would have come down to you, Pankaj, which says download the stuff and pick additional documents or something. There was a link by which you, when you download it, you will get this document also. Okay, Pankaj? Same way today also you will be getting this Hive document also. If you haven't got it, send an email to support or to me and we will send it to you. So no worries, friend. So if you haven't got that document, Madhu, so I can share that with you also. Okay. So again, how to load the data into a partition, we have seen that. And then how to verify under DFS, how Hive has created multiple directories for different partitions. You see that I am loading data based on a partition. So I'm doing an ls. So you see that there are various partitions for the various categories in the transaction database. Okay. Then go inside each partition and see how files are created. Because I said 10, so you would see 10 files getting created. And you can see how am I displaying the partition. And then when I run these two commands, ideally when you run a pig or a Hive command, you will see a MR job happening, right? MapReduce job getting fired. But in this case, you will not see a MapReduce job getting fired because you're running it on the partition. So this is like actually running the record in a database, folks. Okay, so this is the document that will be shared with you. Let me go back to the slide now. Okay, so we saw what are the various data models. Now, this is the way how you can create a file. So you would say create table, table name, the same way how you would do it in a database. You are partitioning it by a designation. You are specifying a row format, delimited fields by a tab, and it is stored as either a sequence file or a text file. Text file means it will be physically be available, friend. So whatever is created in the warehouse directory, okay, is managed by Hive directly. Okay. So I think I had a question over here. I'm not too sure if somebody's asked me a question. Give me a second, guys. I lost my screen. Okay, these questions, yeah, by mistake I have docked it again. There was a question that had come, let me check that. Hey, typically if you say count or some aggregation function, then it has to go back to the database. Even when there is a where clause which is based on a partition, okay, or based on a particular bucket, okay, you would not need to go back to the database, because how am I partitioning it? I'm partitioning it on a designation. So if I'm selecting a query based on some designation, I don't need to do that because it will automatically go to the partition and pick it up. But if I am trying to do a where clause on something else other than the partition, then the MR query will be needed. Otherwise, you don't need a MR query, friends. Fair enough, Vikas? Lovely. So just wanted to show you how a create table happens. So you can see here the sequence file indicates that the data is stored in the form of a binary format, okay, or else, and fields are delimited by type characters. If you say text file, a physical file would be created, friends. Okay, let's move on. Now, there are ways by which you don't have to create it in the Hive warehouse folder. So if you want to put it into a different location, then the way to do that is you will have to say create. Instead of table, you will have to say external table. Okay, external table, some string, location, you're specifying where in the HDFS I want that to be created. So you need to specify the HDFS location if you are creating an external table, which is in another HDFS location and not in the warehouse. By default, if you say create table, it will always be there in the warehouse. Okay. If you are putting it in a separate location, and then when you're trying to delete it, please note that Hive does not delete the table, that is HDFS files, even when the tables are dropped from Hive. It leaves the table untouched and only the metadata of the tables are deleted. This is only applicable to external tables. If we create an internal table and it is stored in Hive, dropping a table will delete the schema as well as it will drop the records also, friends. So only for external tables, the records will not be dropped. Pankaj, the warehouse location is what I had shown it to you earlier. It would by default be there in your user Hive warehouse location. Okay, so that's where the value would be. Thank you, Pankaj. Now, if you would want to load some data, you could say load data local. In path, you will have to specify the name of your location from there the file is getting created, and you can say overwrite into table txn records. If I don't say overwrite, it will append the records. If I don't say local, that means it's an external location. Local always means the HDFS local location of the warehouse. Okay, so load data local in path, the name of the path where the file is, overwrite into table txn records. And if you just want to get the metadata schema of the table, you can always say describe and give the name of the table. So this will list the metadata or structure of a table, folks. So that's about loading the data. If you are looking at managing the tables, you could load data like what I had said earlier. Okay, you could say local path, and you could give the different values inside that into table. Okay, or you can say into table and then again partitioning it based on developers. So designation developers shows only loads a specific partition. And if you want to show the tables, or if you want to show partitions, you can do that with the help of show tables, and of course the old way of writing describe will also work, guys. So that's the way how you will manage your tables. So if you want to have a quick example, so this is what you'll be doing it in the document. So first you create a database called as retail, then you use that particular retail, and then you create a table called as txn records, like what we did for pig last time, the same txn. Okay, the row format is delimited, and it is separated, the fields are separated by comma stored as text file. So that's the way how you will create a file in Hive. Now, if you want to have some queries, you can have a simple select query. You can have an aggregation query, select count distant category from transaction records, or else you can do the group by also. Okay, so you can see a select category sum amount from txn records group by category. So there are a whole lot of extensive queries that you can pass, folks. Okay, so another two ways of managing output. So what am I doing here? I am saying the first query says insert output into another table. If you want to insert the results of something into another table, you can say insert overwrite. Overwrite means always overwrite the table. Results, select star from TXN records. So whatever is the TXN records will be inserted into the results table. You can also insert a local file. So you can say insert override local directory whatever results, and then you can say select star from transaction records. A couple of ways in which you can actually load the data, guys, over here. The beauty is the way how you can actually manage it. You can also use your joins. Before that, Vikas had a question. Can we write an insert query without the select clause and specify the values to be inserted as hard-coded? No, that would not happen. Typically, you will have to get the values from HDFS, right? So the data is there in HDFS. So if you would want that data to be selected, okay, the data will be selected in the form of a load itself, like what I had shown it to you earlier. Make sense, Vikas? Okay. I know that's a sad part, but then see, there's a lot of SQL kind of things given to you, but then this is not where you could add some file, because if I insert something into Hive, that means it has to be there at the DFS level. So if it is there in the form of a record, what is stored in HDFS is typically files, right? So that's the reason. Now, if you want to talk about joins, insert override table PV users, select PV.star, the gender, the age from the user table. You are joining the join page view PV on the user ID and the user ID based on a PV.date. Okay, so there are a couple of ways in which you can join the data from two separate tables and put it into the Hive table. Remember, inserts, plain inserts, hard-coded inserts are not allowed, because what can be put into HDFS is basically a file system, guys. Okay. So again, a couple of example on how you could do the join. You could do multiple inserts also. So here I'm saying from page view staging PVS, insert override table, you are partitioning it based on a date and a country, and then you are selecting a particular value of country. Then you are inserting overwriting table page view, you are creating a partition wherein you are giving a date and you are selecting the country as USA. So you can have multiple, and of course you're selecting the where clause, so you could have multiple values inserted into a table. So a couple of ways to show how insert can happen, guys. It also supports union. So this example shows you a good use case of that particular union. So insert override table users, so and so, select from, inside that there is a big select where clause, there's a union, again there is a select from where, so and so. So just wanted to show you that yes, union and all of those things can also be done in Hive. The other advantage of Hive is its ability to do sampling. Like I said, bucketing. Okay, bucketing is one way of sampling. So it allows users to write queries for the samples of the data instead of for the whole data. So here what are we doing? You are inserting the overriding table PV underscore gender so and so from some bucket, table sample. You can say bucket 3 out of 32. So there are ways how you can do some sampling and it could return the values and it could create it in a coding fashion. So can only be used on table created using clustered by clause. That means you can do this only when the partition by should work, guys. Otherwise this would give you an error. So a couple of ways in which you could do insert, joins and other things. Now if you would want to alter a table that is created, okay, you can say alter table so and so. You can see there's an actual query that has been shown, or else you could drop a table, or else you could drop even a partition. So gives you quite a good extended way of how to work with your Hive, folks. Or it's mainly like a database kind of a stuff. And now the last part, that is, if you would want to browse the tables and partitions, you can see here show tables, show partitions, describe so and so. So this is the way how you can browse tables and partitions. Now when you're trying to load some data, okay, the user can create an external table that will point to the specific location without HDFS. Okay, and the user can copy a file into the specified location using HDFS put or copy commands. So a couple of ways in which you could actually load the data. So in the example you have seen load so and so as, right? So here you will simply say create table, fields delimited by stored as so and so. Okay, so that was your section on your Hive. So if we would have actually taken up the whole session, the way I would have shown is I would have gone down to my VM, okay, and I would have actually run and show something. So I think actually I still have got about 9 minutes. Let me show you one example. In HDFS, we can't alter update data set, right? No, you can't do that, Pankaj. You're basically loading the table and doing it. So that's the reason why we are creating table and dropping partitions, because what is the architecture of HDFS? Write once, read multiple times. So let me quickly go ahead to my VM. So I'm going to open my VM. I'm going to go ahead with my Ubuntu VM just to show this to you, that's all, nothing else. Just to show an example how quickly it can be done. And let me go ahead and power on this VM. And I would need to use PuTTY to get into that particular VM. Because the main difference between Hive and HBase is that HBase is more of a columnar database. Hive is more of a data warehouse kind of a structure. Yes, both have got their own SQL-based interfaces. Hive is more as an ecosystem component. It talks to HDFS, whereas HBase has got its own HDFS kind of structures called as master and slaves and all that. That's what we will see the difference next time. But then both have got SQL interfaces, you're right. Hive is more to do with talking to HDFS. That is the main difference. Okay, so let my VM run real quick. Good, it is inside that. So let me get down to and login, and I need to say ifconfig. Sorry, yeah, I said if config. My IP is 192.168.14.128. Let me put on the light over here. Suddenly it's become a little bit dark over here, so I'm not able to see the keyboard clearly. So I thought I'll put on the light. It'll be better. Let me bring this down a little bit. Hey, what happened to this? The light should have come. I put on the wrong switch. Okay, now it's far more better. And the IP is 192.168, 192.168.14.128. Let me say open. I will log in as not root, and I'll put in my password once it comes in. Come on. It's almost there. Yep. Okay. The reason it's slow is because the HD Insights is taking a lot of memory. And over here, what do I need? Okay, first of all, let me get into Hive. So I will simply say Hive and I'll press enter. I've already untarred my files. I have already put this into my bash profile. Okay, there you see it's running. Okay, the reason it's slow is because, let me actually show this to you. Let me do a Control-Alt-Delete and start Task Manager, and let me show you processes from all servers, and based on the username, processes from all users. I should see the user. Have I stopped that? I don't remember. Hey, I would have stopped that. Okay, I can check it up right now. Then why is it slow? I restarted my machine. Give me a second, guys. I want to check if Hadoop is running or not. Hadoop for Windows. So System and Security, Administrative Tools, Services. And wanted to show you that the Hadoop on Windows is quite good. It's amazing. You know, you can write a Linux-based command in a Windows command prompt. It's revolutionary. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to come up. There it is. See, guys, these are all the services that Hadoop. Just can you give me a quick yes to see if you are able to see my services window, friends? Okay, great. Abhishek and others are saying yes. So see over here, there is Hadoop, Apache Hadoop, named Datanode, Derby Server, Hive Server, Isotope.js, Job Tracker, Metastore. All of those things are Windows Hadoop. Next time I'll show you a demo on that. Since the services are stopped, I have to start it, so let's not waste time. So Hive has come here. Inside this, I am going to say, okay, create database retail 1, and I pressed enter. So after I create the database, like in MySQL, you have to create a database the same way I'm creating a database over here. Let me close my unnecessary stuff. I don't know why in the world it has become real slow. So let me see the processes to see who's the culprit who is taking all of my CPU. Sorry, in my memory. Firefox. I'm not doing anything with Firefox. Why in the world is it taking so much of memory? So I've removed Firefox. I don't know what it is. Yeah, GoToMeetings is taking about 1.28 megs. Anyway, that's the only thing. I will say show processes from all users. That's it. Okay. But still it's slow. Hey, I haven't started with my server. See here, localhost failed to respond. I forgot that last time also. So let me say exit. And let me get down to cd space lab. Hey, what am I doing? Lab slash software slash Hadoop slash bin. If I say JPS, nothing is there, guys. So I'm going to say dot slash start all. Okay, so my name node is getting started. My data node is getting started. My secondary name node is getting started. I've got my job tracker getting started and my task tracker getting started. Wonderful. Now I'm going to say Hive. Which is going to go down to start the system. It should be fast. Okay, so let me quickly do this and show you one example. Okay, Hive has still, okay, it has come. Okay, it's saying it's using log4j and saying that, okay, warning, something is deprecated. Okay, that's fine. Hive history file, it will upload it. Good. Now I'm going to say create database retail 1. Okay. Then I should say use retail 1, and then I could, why should I type? I've got the code ready with me, so let's not waste time in typing. So create database, and then okay, good. So let me get down to my putty. Hey, what happened? It says, okay, this is done. Let's see. Okay, I've got a lot of data. So name node is in safe mode, created directory. Okay. The ratio of reported blocks has reached the threshold of so and so. Safe mode will be turned off automatically. See, what has happened is that since I've used a lot of data in this particular VM, okay, so that's the reason why it is giving, HDFS is running in a safe mode exception, and it's saying that I cannot create a, see here, this is the place where it will be stored, user hive warehouse. Okay, fine. Let me see if I can say use retail. I have already got, see, I already have a database called as retail, and let me just describe TXN records. Let's see if this should already be there. See here. So what I have done is, let me show it to you guys. Let me maximize this section. So I create a database, okay. I use the database. Then I create a table called as TXN records in the structure, and I load the data from my TXNS, the same database that I was using earlier, into records, and I describe it. And now let me write my select star count from TXN records, so which will fire a MapReduce code for you. So I am going to say, why should I type? I can directly copy this whole thing. Oops. Control C. And press enter. So this internally will say I did not specify the number of MapReduce jobs. So it has started with the job 1, okay, and see, it has started with that particular job, okay. You could set the MapReduce number to maximum to decide how much reducers and mappers you would need. You could do that. It is starting with a MapReduce job. There it is. It is started with 0% and 0%. And whatever was a record that is there, if I'm not mistaken, it's 999 record. And 9,999 record, it should be displayed that count for you from the TXN records, guys. So this was a quick demo. The whole document is what will be given to you, so that there should be no concern, guys. Okay. So while this is happening, any questions on what we have seen today, folks? We started with our Hive, okay? The basic purpose of Hive is that you will get a SQL kind of a query, okay? And it will automatically create MapReduce jobs for you. You could use your partitioned tables. You can create buckets. You can search more from that particular buckets. There it is. In fact, it is not even 9,000. That was in another table. This is actually 10 lakh records. It took us about 80 seconds to create a MapReduce function and get the 10 lakh records. So time spent is 17 seconds, and MapReduce CPU time was 17 seconds, guys. Okay, so now if I want to select something and if I want to group from category, okay, let me do one more thing. Select category, and this is the last thing that I'll be doing because I need to move, guys. Control C and go back here. I just saw the time now. Right click and I'll press enter. See, it will go to the MapReduce part of it, and you will see the category and the total sum for every category from the transaction records, and I'm grouping by category. This is the command that I have fired, guys. Okay. So while that works, I could take up questions from your friends. Any specific questions on what you have done till now? have you followed where will I use Hive? It's basically for structured data. You saw that like the way we loaded it from the PIC storage last time, today we are loading it, creating a table and loading it into it, and then I'm firing my queries. Is everything fine till now, guys? Yeah, a couple of people have said. A quick yes from everybody would be wonderful, guys. Or if you have a question, please ask me, friends. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Pankaj. Thanks, Vikas. You need to practice this. Thank you, Abhishek. So these documents will be sent across to you. Once I'm back, I will be sending this document before I get into the flight today, so that you should have this big document for all of you guys. Don't worry. There it is. You can see for 10 lakh records, it took about 73 seconds for running the whole thing. So this is definitely faster than your PIG. Okay, so you saw here the different categories and what is the sum of all of that. And it took only CPU time was 16 seconds and 40 milliseconds. Okay, you can have partitions. You need to do this exercise on your own, how to create partition table. Okay, now since everything is already done, I could actually select this query and show you that there is no MR code created. Whenever we typically say a transaction category, you know that an MR code is created, right? So see over here now. Because this code was done earlier, I'll do a semicolon. Select star. See here, guys. I did a mistake of doing where category is equal to puzzles. So it will do the whole thing. Okay, times taken so and so. It's too much. So what you should see here is that it did not fire a MapReduce code. Remember I told you, if even with the where clause, if you have categorized by that, okay. So let me do show partitions here, show you this particular query, so that you will see how the partitions are also created. Semicolon. Okay, there it is. These are all the different partitions that is created. So whenever I create something on the category is equal to puzzles, okay, it won't create one more MapReduce code. Okay, it will directly run that and give you the output, guys. Hope that is clear, guys. So it's about 3:40. I need to move on, guys. I'm sorry about that. Hope you have understood this. So please try the exercises of whatever I'm going to share, plus the other exercises. Please cover this up, and you should be ready for the next Sunday for 4 hours. We'll take up a break in between after 2.5 hours for about half an hour, and then we'll continue with it. Hope that should be fine, guys. So see you on next Sunday. Apologies that I had to leave early. I'm sorry about that, but then God's grace, God's will, I would say. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, and see you next time. And Vivek, if you can send across the questions what you had asked me by email, I'll reply back to that. Thank you, Srilal. Thanks, Sandeep. Thank you, Pankaj. Anybody in Hyderabad next week, guys? Out of this batch, anybody stays in Hyderabad? If you want, we could catch up next week. I'll be there in the Infosys Gachibowli campus. Pankaj, I'm coming to Hyderabad Gachibowli campus, Microsoft office, India Development Center. So if you're there somewhere close by, we could catch up. We will start the batch at 2:30 only, Sandeep, because I'll have some commitments before that. So 2:30 to 6:30, let's say 7 is the timings, because from 4:30 to 5 we will take a break and then do the 1.5 hours. Gaurav, unfortunately, not too much in this thing. So Pankaj, if you can send me an email, please, because this will go away quickly. The chat windows message will go away. If you can send me an email, that will be wonderful, Pankaj. So thanks, guys. Rushing off now, and see you next Sunday, and take care and God bless. Bye-bye for now, guys. Thanks, Mother. Thanks, Abhishek. Yes, Vivek. Sorry. Okay. Vivek, I'll be there in the Gachibowli campus. Okay, so if you can send me an email, we could catch up in the evening if you're there in that part of the town. Microsoft Engineering Department. Lovely, Vivek. Hey, if it's close by, we could definitely meet up for a coffee in the morning or sometime in the evening. Either way is fine with me. Sure, folks. So thank you, everybody. Just rushing off now. See you. Take care. Vivek, if you can send me an email, I'll reply back to that with my number, friend. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
The organ